Alright, so a couple things before we actually start this and what this is going to look like. On the board over there I have 5 into 128. So it looks kind of like this. Actually it looks exactly like this. Well, before you do it, because I'm going to run alongside, I want you to understand that this could be written several different ways. We could write it as 128 over 5, right? Or 128 divided by 5. So I want you to understand which goes outside the division sign and which one goes inside. Does that make sense to everybody? Remember setting them up like that? Okay, so our difference now is these are going to be polynomials and not just whole numbers. So we'll have something like, let me change. You need a lot of room for this. It does take a lot of room. 3x to the 4th minus 5x to the 3rd plus 4x minus 6 divided by x squared minus 3x plus 5. So the first thing you have to do before we actually set this up is you need to look for what we call placeholders. Does anybody know what I mean by when I say placeholders? It seems like we've done that in here. Have we done placeholders? No? Placeholders do exactly what it sounds like they do. They hold the place of something. So when you look, my biggest exponent is 4, yes? So I need to make sure I have every exponent down from 4. So I need to make sure that I have 4, 3, 2, 1, and a constant. What do you notice here that I'm missing? A 2, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the place of that 2 with a 0x squared. So instead of 3x to the 4th minus 5x squared plus 4x, it's going to be 3x to the 4th minus 5x cubed plus 0x squared plus 4x minus 6. Does that make sense? You need every exponent there, from the biggest one all the way down to the constant. All right, so I'm just going to set up my division problem. Remember, what follows this sign is what goes outside the division sign. All right? I'm going to go to a new page, so I'm sure to have enough room. So I've got x squared minus 3x plus 5 into, remember the placeholder here, 3x to the 4th minus 5x cubed. I need that 0x squared plus 4x minus 6. Give y'all a second. Before we actually start this one, I want to reference this problem because I'm going to use this problem to explain the polynomial problem as we go. So if you look, I got 5 into 128, right? Yes. If you were explaining to someone how to do that for the very first time that didn't know what to do, what would you tell them to do first?
See how many times 5 goes into 12.
See how many times 5 goes into 12. In other words, what do I need to multiply this by to get really close to this, right? As close as I can get. And what is it? 2. It goes up top, right? I'm going to do that same thing with my polynomials. But I'm only using outside terms. So look at the outside term here, and then the first term here. What can I multiply x squared by to get 3x to the 4th? 3x squared. Do we all agree with that? Yeah. X squared times what gives you 3x to the 4th? Think about these as columns. This is the powers of 4, powers of 3, powers of 2. So I would come above the powers of 2 and write 3x squared. Everybody sees where that came from, yes? Always the first one's what do I multiply this by to get this? Same as when I was over here in this regular division problem. What do I multiply this by to get this? So back over here, once you put the 2 up there, what's your next step? What do you do?
Subtract 10 from 12.
Okay, but even, so nobody's, you're explaining this to somebody that hadn't done it before. Where's the 10 coming from?
From 5 times 2.
So you're multiplying around, right? And you're writing it under. I'm going to do the same thing, but here's where it gets long.
Like we make it upside down or something.
Well, you're going to multiply it to the outside, but this time it's got to multiply to everything. Okay, not just the first one anymore, so to everything. So what I'm really doing is 3x squared times x squared minus 3x plus 5. So it's got to distribute to all of that. Okay? So what is 3x squared times x squared? 3x to the 4th. Remember, we're multiplying coefficients and adding exponents. What is 3x squared times negative 3x? Negative
Squared.
9x cubed. Keep them in the right columns. Remember, your cubes column, your squareds column. And now 3x squared times 5 is what? 15x squared. So I've done the same thing, only when I multiplied around, I had to multiply a bunch of stuff. I'm back to this problem. Once you multiply, what's your next step? Subtract, right? So I subtract this 10. So looking at this problem, instead of just subtracting the first, I'm going to subtract everything. And this is, a lot of you messed up on this on your test, the subtracting part. I'm going to subtract the whole polynomial, which means I'm going to do same, change everything. If you've done it correctly, your first term will cancel out every single time. 3x to the 4th and negative 3x to the 4th, done. Okay? What is negative 5x to the 3rd plus 9x to the 3rd? What's negative 5 and 9? What is it? Somebody said it. 4x. Well, this time, so remember when we're adding, we want to keep the exponent. When we're multiplying, then we add the exponents. How about here? 0x squared and negative 15x squared. Somebody back there saying it, but very quietly. Negative 15x squared. All right, are you following? Same steps here.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to go ahead and subtract here and I get 2. Now tell me.
Bring down your 8.
Exactly. Bring down the next term, right?
Yes.
So I get 8. So here, what's the next term to bring down?
4x.
4x.
Yeah.
Go, Andrew. Now what? After you bring down the next term, what happens?
See how many times 5 you add?
The whole process starts to repeat, right?
Yeah.
What do you multiply 5 by to get 28? Or as close to it as you can get? 5. And then you continue on. So let's do that here. But remember, first terms only.
We don't multiply by the first term. Or
That's what you look at to find what goes up top. But then you multiply to everything. Because we want this first one to cancel out. So what do you multiply x squared by to get 4x to the 3rd? 4x. Positive 4x, it goes in the x column. Now the repetition starts, right? What do you do now? Distribute it, multiply it. It goes to everything on the outside. So 4x times x squared is 4x to the 3rd. It should be the same as what you have here. 4x times negative 3x. Negative, that's right, 12x squared. And 4x and 5, 20x positive. It's the same process. There's so much repetition with it that after you do a couple, it just clicks. I hear some of you saying change. You're absolutely right because we're subtracting. So I same change and I change everything inside these parentheses. If you've done it correctly, the first one's going to cancel out for you, right? Does it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How many x squareds do I have? -3, that's right. How about x's? -16. Take a guess on what I do next. Bring down the next term. So now I've got -6. Everything all over again. It's a very tedious process, but it's not too terribly difficult. First terms only, what do I multiply this by to get this? -3. Make sure you keep that sign with it. Now what? Take it around, right? Multiply. Be careful with these signs. This time I'm multiplying by a negative. So -3 times x squared gives me what? -3x squared. Now -3 times what? -3x, which would be positive 9x. Two negatives make a positive. And then -3 times 5 is what now? Exactly. Change everything. First one's cancel, yes? What's -16x and -9x? -25x. How about -6 and 15? Positive 9. There's nothing else for me to bring down, right? Do we all see that? We've exhausted everything. There's nothing I can multiply x squared by to get 25x. So this is the point I'm at with this problem. What is that 3 called? A remainder, right? And I know I can stick a decimal on there and start adding zeros and dropping down, but if I don't want to do a decimal and I want to think in terms of fractions, what do I do? You take this and put it over what? 5. So it becomes 3/5 is the fraction. I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I take the remainder, this is my remainder, and I say plus, I take the remainder, this looks terrible, but it's really not, over what I divided by. So this is the answer. What do you think? Yeah. It's a lot. If you don't keep up with your work being neat and everything, you'll get the wrong answer. The signs will kill you if you're not careful there as well. Let's do one more together, I think.
Yeah, I need one more.
Are you making shorter though?
Yeah.
And that's one of the next lessons where we like shorthanded.
It's gonna take me a long time to get it.
You're gonna give us a whole bunch of homework problems.
This is about an average length one for long division.
Can we do a short? So they got short.
There are short ones. The steps are about as long, but maybe some, let me show you. Let's do, and I'm just going to set it up for you so we got room. X minus 2 into x to the third plus 5x squared. All right. First terms, outside and in. What do you multiply this by to get this? X squared. So go above the squareds, which is here. Now what? Distribute. Multiply around, right? This one's a little bit shorter because there's only 2 terms outside. X squared times x is what? X to the 3rd. And x squared times negative 2, negative 2x squared. I'm subtracting this, right? So I need to do a same change everything here. First ones cancel as they should. 5x squared and 2x squared gives me 7x squared. What do I do now? Make sure you keep the sign with it. It's minus. What's my next step? Y'all are saying it. What are you doing? What do you multiply this by to get this? And what is it? 7x, and it's positive. And I'm going to multiply it around. 7x times x is?
7x squared.
And 7x times negative 2? That's right. Subtract it all, yes? So same change everything kind of situation here. First ones cancel as they should if I've done it correctly. What is negative 7x and 14x? 7x. Now what? Bring down the 2. Now what? So what is it? What goes up top? 7. X times what gives you 7x? 7. Always just the first ones. The first one outside and the first one inside. Multiply it around. You get 7x, and then 7 times negative 2 is, you finished already? Negative 14. Same, change, cancel. 2 and 14 is? Nothing to bring down, right? So 16 is my what? Remainder. So when I have a remainder, what do I do with it? Yep. Put it over what you divided by. So x squared plus 7x plus 7 plus 16 over x minus 2. Tell me what you think. Easy? There's lots of places to make mistakes. You have to be very careful.